Hi, welcome back to Her and the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. This is your girl, Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports. Make sure you keep it live here on 95.9 FM on your regular radio dial. You can definitely download the WOVU app so you can listen to us on the go. And then you can also listen online at WOVU.org. So I'm happy now. I'm able to get my special guest on. So I'm excited to have them on. First, I have Irie Harris of Cleveland.com. He is the beat writer for the Cleveland Browns. So super excited to have him on. And we have Nick, oh my God, Nick Toombs, sorry, from VSBN. So he writes for Dotting the I, .net for OSU, and also for Lakefront.com for all things Cleveland. And I think we might have lost Nick for a hot second. Irie, you're there, sir. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Irie? Okay, Irie can't hear me. We're still going to work on this. So I'm going to try to get them going on. So super excited to have them here. I want to make sure that they are able to hear me, talk some Browns with them. But going back to the Cleveland Browns. So I was just talking with DJ Chris Styles during the break. And one of the things that we said was that we talked about another allegation coming in today of misconduct. And that allegation was supposedly happened in 2020, and it's just green light brought to light today. Busby is the attorney on this one. So I don't think that with him there won't be any shortage of people coming forward. And I think it's just going to be a long line, and he's just not going to stop sending women forward with this. So who knows what's going to happen. But Deshaun Watson, probably was not in his mind yesterday and probably shouldn't have played. You should have allowed Jameis Winston to get the start, quite possibly, because all of these things, happen to him. And, supposedly he's estranged with his father, but still that could, create feelings and things like that, feelings of loss, and them being estranged. Deshaun might have wanted to get to know his dad. Some of these men are raised by single mothers, and don't have relationships with their fathers. There could have been some regret there. So that could have been something that happened as well. I'm not 100% sure, but it remains to be seen, if he should have played that game. Your offensive line was terrible. I mean, pretty much just every facet of the game of football was terrible yesterday. I don't know, what went wrong. It was just so many. And, a lot of people say, hey, we're going to blame it on them not getting any snaps. I knew they were going to be a little rusty, but I was thinking that after a couple drives that they would be able to bring it together. But that didn't happen. It just didn't happen. And Deshaun, unfortunately, the offensive line just wasn't holding up. And he had a whole bunch of hurries. He took 6 sacks. So he was hurried a lot of the times because the pass rush, and Micah Parsons is everything as advertised. They were doing a good job containing Myles Garrett. Myles had a strip sack of Dak Prescott, but it was recovered by the Dallas Cowboys. So that's kind of how things went. So, Nick and Irie, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yes. Perfect. I'm so happy to have you guys on me. Sorry about that. That was my fault, what I was doing. So not a WOVU thing, but it was a Rachel Hill thing. So that's okay. We always have to take some practice sometimes and crawl before you can walk. So fellas, I'm super excited to have you guys here. Do you guys know each other?
Yeah, I met you at the Browns last year. Remember? How you doing, man?
I do remember. How's everything been, man?
Pretty good. Busy. Really busy.
Yeah, it's been a busy 24 hours and counting. I don't know when this slate is gonna end, but we keep crawling, right? Just like Rachel said.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, and Nick covers the Browns too, Irie. So I'm gonna start with you though, Irie.
All right.
What was your opinion of yesterday's game?
Oh man, that's the question. How do I stay clean yet politically correct? Let me think. It was bad, capital AD, all around, both sides of the ball. I think the one unit that probably doesn't have too much negative to say would just be the special teams units. Dustin Hopkins did complete that one field goal. That was the only time that they scored points in the first half. Jalen Darty 97 yards on four kick returns. 20 plus yards on punt returns as well too. 25 on three punt returns. That's really, yeah, as far as something good to say. And as you were saying earlier, yeah, Micah Parsons is as advertised. The whole entire defense, if we're being honest, like it's funny because I was thinking earlier, like there really was some similarity into which like they also had a terrific 2023 season, just like the Browns defense, and they also ranked highly within multiple statistical categories, just like the Browns defense, and they also ended their postseason on a sour note in an embarrassing loss to Green Bay, just like the Browns did in Houston. So it only made sense for these two units to meet, or to play in Week 1 and see, who's really learned their lesson and wants to come out and play well. And as we saw, Dallas did. They go out and yes, we know the injury woes regarding the Browns' offensive line, but just in shorter terms, Dallas's defense is also as advertised. Six sacks on Watson. Five of the six sacks came in the second half. 25 quarterback pressures per next gen stats. And then 17 quarterback hits, the two interceptions. One of those was tipped, as we know, by Micah Parsons, landing in the hands of Eric Kendricks. It was just a lot going on. It just seemed as though no matter where Watson went, no matter what this offense did, they were not going to escape that giant star during the evening. Wherever they went, they saw a giant star, and that was kind of the name of the game. And it was just bad overall on both sides. That's I'll keep it to that right now and save the rest for later on. How about for you, my friend?
Well, first of all, that was a great analogy. I'm glad that you pointed out the 25 times pressure. That was huge. You look at an offensive line battling injuries, but Dewan Jones, took a huge step forward this year. Obviously, going against a great defense in Dallas. Don't get me wrong, but it just seemed like that offensive line was out of whack from the start, and I really think that set the tone. And the inability to run the football was the death of the Browns offensively yesterday, in my opinion. Because if you look back at last year, when the Browns were able to pass the football, it opened the passing lanes and play action for Joe Flacco there at the end of the season. Another thing is chemistry. Watson still doesn't have that chemistry with his offensive line, his running backs, and his receivers. I know he's been hurt, but he's got to get that going if he wants to have a shot at leading this team into contention for a division and the playoffs.
Now, I thought that this
Agreed.
team was going to be a little rusty, the first couple of snaps, maybe the first couple, possessions. I thought they were going to be rusty. But there could have been a lot more interceptions, but they weren't caught by Dallas. So there could have been a lot more interceptions that weren't caught by Dallas. I'm still ready to call Kareem Hunt. I don't care if he had, only 500 rushing yards. He was able to have touchdowns when it mattered, when we needed it the most. So
Yep.
I bet he could have got some yards yesterday just doing what he normally does by running hard. But like you guys said, in every facet of the game, we were beat and we were just out muscled and out bodied. And it was just like we let Dallas have their way with us. We got pushed around. Jerome Ford wasn't able to do anything. You had some drops. When I saw Amari Cooper drop a ball that went right through his hands, I was just like, "Oh my God!" You missed David and Joku. Drop a ball, and these would have been for pretty, decent games. And David and Joku, is out. He left on that. That wasn't so. He had that possession where he dropped it, and then there was another one where he caught it and he took a pretty mean tackle. and he went down with that. So, Irie, any update on David and Joku?
Yeah, Kevin spoke today, and I'll just kind of give you the whole list, or at least what he said so far. He said Mahurst has an ankle injury, and Joku ankle injury, Tony Fields ankle injury, Daibate hip injury, and said for all those guys is more of a week to week thing right now. So that's the word. There's no confirmation regarding him being out ahead of Jacksonville or him being ready to go ahead of Jacksonville. Or just gonna, if that, in other words, there'll be a better answer, a better state of that ahead of Friday.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, I did laugh, but by the way, you could probably see when you mentioned that they could have had more, Dallas could have had more interceptions because that you literally hit the nail on the head. I had an article go up, uh, really this morning, last night to this morning, in which because I had gone to Dallas's locker room and just kind of talked just to get that perspective of like, yeah, you guys just whoop Cleveland, like talk about it kind of thing, and uh, corner Kalen Carson, cornerback, was sitting next to secondary pure Trevon Diggs. The loggers are right next to each other. They both had two passes defended against. That was a team high per both of them. Diggs had an interception of his own, as we saw in the second half. And Carson literally said we were supposed to have like three picks. And he looked towards Diggs' way, and Diggs just shook in agreement, like, yep. So when you said that, it literally just reminded me of that moment in which they also felt the same way that they could have had more picks. Uh,
Hmm.
so yeah, it really just was the name of the game yesterday. They really could have had a lot more, but it did seem everybody was getting a piece of the pie, right? Like, for example, even who's technically a rookie because he missed last year due to an ACL injury. He was drafted last year. DeMarvion Overshown, the linebacker from Dallas, who had a game high 11 tackles and had that one sack. When Watson was trying to come around right on that 4th and 6 and was looking for somebody, and he just came out of nowhere. Like everybody had a piece of the pie within that defensive unit and the offense as well. I know we'll get to the offense in a bit, but it was really that defense that set the tone and carried the way. Uh, I don't know if you guys have any more further thoughts within that.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
y-
go
oh,
ahead, Nick. I'm sorry.
no, I was just going to add, yeah. I don't know. It was just one of those weird games. Like I say, the body language of Watson obviously going through a tragedy like he did. I
Right.
honestly don't think he probably should have played. In his mind, he probably wanted to go out as a tribute for his dad, but you could just tell he was not there mentally. He was not locked in. And you know how much of this game is mental. We talk about it all the time. 50% mental, they say. So Watson, you could just tell, even though the line was a mess and terrible, having issues blocking, just mentally, he was not dialed in, and I really think that was another key concern.
I
Hmm.
agree. Yeah, condolences to his father. Once you saw that Friday morning, you can kind of tell. I mean, it like I think back to even Jeremiah Usa Koramora, right? The tragedy that happened to his brother ahead of his sophomore season. His second year. And he was coming off a really solid rookie year, and ahead of his second season, he just wasn't the same, and you could really tell that was hampering him during that entire season. Even like look appearance wise, if you guys remember seeing his pictures and stuff, he didn't cut any of his hair off. He had the big beard going, So some people really deal with tragedies like that in different ways, and I think it's important that for sure we take that into account when we see these guys not playing the way that we know they can up to their capabilities, because that's also important. Like, how are you gonna pay attention and be able to really know and clock Elijah Moore coming across the slant, within the middle when you have, your father on your mind who's not here with us anymore. So that is really important. Uh,
D- didn't it come out that somebody else passed away that he was close to as well, like Saturday or something? Like they were talking about like two people in his life passed away.
I did see of that, yeah, with I believe within a friend of his. The big news, of course, well, the at least first reported was the father, but I did see something with that regarding the friend that was taking place during the time which I was in Dallas's locker room. So I'll have to double check and verify on that. But if you've seen it, I'm sure you'll be able to confirm and see that was also sad, which didn't even add more to it emotionally, right? Like it is quite a bit going on for Watson, and it sucks to see them. roasting them, as they would say, online, all the memes and all the other videos, and of course everybody mentioning Baker Mayfield and what he did yesterday with Tampa Bay. It's all just kind of hitting at once, and you can only hope that that week one is the worst of the season, and we're in the worst of yet to come, and that it only can only rise from here.
Do you think that the departure of Bill Callahan really showed a lot of weaknesses on that offensive line yesterday?
That is a possibility. I do remember Rachel and them asking me about that.
In preseason.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. During the preseason, because the biggest, like, the early roles, red flag wise, even before the news of Wills and Conklin, was like during joint practices with Minnesota. That first day, they had like nearly 10 penalties. Majority of them being false starts. And honestly, if this keeps up, then yes, it would be more not just easy, but it would make sense to point that direction, right? Because when Callahan was here, this was one of the more better and more consistent blocking units in the league. Not to say that they were, maybe top tier or within that top five sense in my eyes, but there was no going wrong with what they had, And then of course the multi-time All Pro, players in Wyatt Teller and Patonio, and then even Ethan Poshich, who was an insurance center, who really came up and became one of the better centers during the 2022 season, and has continued to stay well afterwards. But something really was off yesterday, and it can be with that chemistry. It can also be maybe with the simple sense of them still working within the timing of blocking for Deshaun, because every quarterback is different, right? Some are gunslingers, some are quicker in the pocket. Then you have Deshaun, who at times can tend to hold on to the ball in the pocket a little bit longer. So there's really all these different elements that gave us one lovely dish called a loss, as we saw yesterday. I did want to ask you though, regarding with the offense, or in other words, the Browns defense. Do you do you feel that it's appropriate to overreact to the defensive performance by the Browns yesterday, or you think that would be an overreaction, and that it's all right and that everything, it was just a simple case of this lack of productivity in the first half, but they're better than that. How do you feel regarding that?
I honestly think it's an overreaction. I think they'll be fine. I just think they were on the field too much. It goes back
Mhm.
to that the struggle of not being able to run the football. I sound like a broken record, but
Talk
look
about
at the
it.
team
Talk
last year,
about it.
man. It's all about running the football. The Browns are a better team when they can establish the run. That O line has to block better. I don't care who you're playing. I understand Dallas is a great defense, but the Browns made the playoffs last year. They have to step it up regardless of who the coach is. They are able to run the ball and eat the clock more. That defense is going to have a lot more rest. Miles can catch his breath. You can't have Miles on the field that much like he did yesterday. So no, I don't. I think it's an overreaction. I think the Browns defense will be just fine. But yeah, they definitely have to get the run game going at all costs. If I'm Kevin Stefanski, that's all I'm working on this week.
I'm in the middle with that. I just look at, it didn't really look like the defense made any adjustments. And, like Nick said, they were all out there all game long. At one point, we had, 39 yards in the second quarter, and we had 47 yards in penalties. So, I don't think that they were able to make no adjustments. I mean, I would have sent some safety help over the top for CeeDee Lamb, but that still might not been enough because the other Dallas receivers were dangerous as well. But they pretty much had no answers. They had an answer in the first half, in the first drive. They were able to neutralize them. But, after they came out and scored, it just was, you could see that pass opening up, and Dak had all day to throw. So you could see definite differences, when it came to offensive line play, how Dak had time to throw and pick apart our defense. And Miles Garrett was struggling to get to him too, and they were blocking pretty well for Dak, and there was just it was just the offensive line. It's just sad, and I don't know what to do about it at this point. Injuries and things like that. Dwan Jones had a critical. Uh, was it because I think it was a 5 yard penalty, but we were driving and it was hard for us to do anything. So he had that critical penalty. Other than that, his name wasn't called the rest of the game. But I guess there's a crackdown this year of illegal shifts. as
Yep.
well, because that's all I've been seeing called.
Yep.
So there must have been a lot of illegal shifts taking place before that they weren't calling, because that is all that they've been calling. Like you saw that game in Baltimore, not in Baltimore, but in Kansas City, there was a lot of illegal shifts called in that game. So that's something that they're cracking down on, and and that was called in our game yesterday. So it was just, I don't know what to say about this defense. Obviously Miles Garrett is going to lead it as usual, but he was blocked like crazy. He wasn't really able to wreak any havoc that he typically does. But guys, I'm going to have to take a quick break right quick. So you're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. We'll be right back. 20 seconds. 20 seconds. Welcome back to Her in the Huddle with Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports. Welcome back to Her and Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. This is your girl in the house, Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports. And I'm trying to be talked off the ledge right now by my special guest, Irie Harris of Cleveland.com, and Nick Toombs from VSBN. And he writes for dottingtheI.net for OSU, and for the lakefront.com for all things Cleveland. Excuse me. Nick, you Nick Michaels now? You going by your middle name?
I've always been Nick Michaels. You're losing it, girl.
Really? I'm sorry. Why don't you say something?
I didn't want to embarrass you. You did it to yourself.
You can tell me your right name, what to use. That's not embarrassment. That's to get me together.
No. That's my air name. That's so the police don't find me. So thanks a
Oh
lot.
God, what you been doing?
I know I've been watching American Fiction too much. But
what's American Fiction?
oh,
Oh
Irie, have
no.
you seen it? Have you seen it, Irie?
Perhaps.
Oh, it just
Yeah,
came out. You
I
guys
know.
got to watch that movie. Just watch the movie. I won't even tell you what it's about. It's a great movie. Jeffrey Wright, really good.
Yeah,
Came
I
out
know.
last.
I know exactly what you're talking about. So I do. I am a little ahead.
He
Compared.
has a fake alias, and he says that he's writing under a fake alias, and he says that
Yeah.
he's a fugitive, so the cops are after him. So yeah,
Sounds sounds like a spiritual experience. A little more entertaining probably than Sunday was. But
yeah,
yeah, and going back to what you were saying prior to the break, I do have to agree with you with this run game. I do find it funny because yeah, last year I don't know if the run game was given the right amount of props last year for really keeping the offense stable through the chaos within the quarterback depth chart, the injuries, somebody else every other week and stuff. But the run game, Jerome Ford, Kareem Hunt, as Rachel's mentioned, and probably has called 20 times by this point. They really did keep things
I ain't
stable.
got no answer yet either.
I always think back to the and I know it's last year and it ties into right now, but I always think back to that win in week 6 over San Francisco when Honda and Ford combined for I want to say 131 yards, and I'm sure somebody's gonna fact check that right now, but they literally doubled what San Francisco's run defense was giving up, and they were a big reason within that win even taking place. And if you're not establishing a run, then that really does kind of pedal off the metal, kind of thing for within the Browns offense. There really is no stable backbone if the run game isn't working the way that we expect to. That Jerome Ford rushing touchdown at the end kind of felt similar to when Chris Paul hit that 3-pointer versus the Mavs and then blowout loss and cut the lead, cut the deficit to 42 points. It's like this isn't doing anything. That's really what it felt like right now. But hopefully hopefully Sunday wakes the entire team up. And you know what? I wouldn't even don't even worry about Jalen Darden. Don't even worry about Dustin Hopkins. You know what you're gonna get from them. They deliver. They're gonna deliver, especially Hopkins as he does all the time. Worry about the both sides of the ball. Because it's been day and night going into week 1, but suddenly now it's night and night. So now that adds a little bit more pressure to not let that replicate going into Jacksonville. And Jacksonville, a sneaky team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Real quick before we get to Jacksonville, I just have to
Right.
say one last thing.
Oh
Going
yeah.
back to Bill Callahan, Bill was there and he did such a wonderful job. He, in my opinion, belongs in the Hall of Fame. I know they only usually want head coaches, but they should include him as an assistant coach. He's one of the all-time great offensive lineman coaches as far as I've ever been alive and watching football. And Bill Callahan was great at developing players. That's what he did last year. He helped Dewan Jones get better. I saw Dewan Jones regress right before my eyes. So I think that was part of the issues with the guys that were healthy, that were in there, that weren't getting any better. And I hate to call off the offensive line coaching staff, but I was not impressed with what I saw.
Mm-mm.
Do you think that if Callahan ever was up for that, do you think that they would suddenly just be like, wait a minute, didn't you do what you did in Super Bowl 37 with the Raiders? Did do you think they'd bring it up and try to use it against them?
Maybe, I don't know. That's a good point.
Allegedly, allegedly, not disagreeing at all. That's just the first thing that came to mind when mentioning him in a hot film. Like, oh, they couple people on that committee probably like, wait, you know what he did? That is against the. But I totally understand what
What
you.
did
But
he do
yes,
for our audience who doesn't know?
well, there's the allegation. In other words, it was just kind of fishy within the sense of that a couple days before the big game versus Tampa Bay, coached by John Gruden, who was the coach of the Raiders before Callahan moved up in the coaching ranks. There was he changed the game plan around, which didn't really work, and a few other things that were happening. So it was really that controversy in the sense of like, why are we changing it almost looked as though that he was sabotaging the game plan allegedly, not saying so because I'm not in that room, nor do I care to be right now. But I just thought I would bring that fun nugget up. But yes, I do agree with then Callahan being really impactful when here for that offensive line. And that is a valid point you bring up regarding Dewan Jones, because to me, in my eyes, Dewan Jones hasn't, even though he's came off his injuries and wasn't playing much after going down last season, he has seemed to regress a little bit right now, or in other words, doesn't look the same as we saw early on through those first 9 weeks. Like you think about, not to say he's not putting in his own work, but you do think he was able to come in week one last year when Conklin went down in the second period and just play like he's been here before, or at least hold his own. But now he's these bonehead penalties, or in other words, rookie mistakes. Like, what is that exactly? So you might be hitting the head on the nail, Nick.
All right, they going to Jacksonville next week, and Jacksonville lost their they wasn't their home opener, so they lost to the Dolphins on 20-17, so a close game. So you're gonna have Jacksonville really turn for their home opener, and they're gonna be ready to go. So this is the opportunity that the guard excuse me, I was about to say the Guardians. It was on my mind. This is going to be the opportunity that the Browns have to turn things around, to try to slow things up a little bit. I think you have to slow things up a little bit. But this is going to be their opportunity to right the ship and go ahead and maybe get a victory on the road. They completely realize that. I think that they realize they have to do everything the opposite of what they did during this game, because I don't know if it really could get much worse. So that's what I'm thinking. You have to do the exact opposite of everything that you wasn't able to do. You have to establish the run game. You have to
Yep.
be able to
Yep.
have Deshaun Watson, throw better. You have to the offensive line, when they watch that film, they watch how they kind of got manhandled by that defensive front of the Cowboys. So, pretty much do the opposite of everything that you did.
You know what? Yeah. My fault. Go ahead, Nick.
No, no, I was just gonna say real quick. Yeah, I mean, you run the ball, that takes pressure off of Watson, and it will relax him. That will get his head cleared. Less pressure on him. So yeah, absolutely. It's a broken record. Run the ball. Run the ball.
Running the ball does help open, everything up. I think within the elements across the field. Though I also will say Jacksonville's pass defense isn't as sturdy, or at least as one would, or as a Jaguars fan would hope for within week one. They did give up, and I know that it's the Dolphins, one of the best, if not the best offenses in the league, but they did give up nearly 300, yeah, around 338 air yards in the air from Miami side. And furthermore, last year they ranked within the bottom eight, I believe, the bottom 10 in passing yards allowed per game, 26 to be exact, out of 32. So if they can get that run game going, that maybe that will be able to open things up into which Watson can slowly start to build up during that game. I'm not gonna say he's maybe start throwing deep balls right off the bat. I mean, we all would love that to see that happen, but I don't see that happening as well, at least within the early on in the game. But maybe he can find a way to work his way into that. And if he were to start feeling that, just let it rip, because this is one of the more productive pass defenses in the league. So you could just kind of rip them apart if you start to really feel it. But it would be nice to see the run game really come in and open things up, at least in the beginning, right?
Hmm.
Because that really is the backbone to stability outside of the offensive line. And you just need to see a better performance. We've talked quite a bit about the run game. How about does this make Nick Chubb look kind of like a winner in a way, or not so much a winner, but like a just kind of showing just how much he's needed, which we already knew, but how much even more he's needed within this run game?
That was going to be my question. You took the question out of my mouth.
Very much think alike.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. It shows just how much we miss him and how much we need him. But what's to say he comes back in the fourth week? What's to say he's back? Who knows how significant this injury really is? So we might not even have him.
I'm shocked that they can't somehow shuffle the money around, cut a few guys to make room for Kareem, pay the man. You need the depth, because when I'm looking at this roster, I'll be honest with you. I mean, Jerome Ford has some potential. I do like the kid a lot, but I mean, Strong behind him, and then Watson was the second leading rusher. You don't want him running the ball, especially with the injury prone that he is. So you need the depth at running back. And like you said, Rachel, who knows when Nick Chubb's going to come back? But yeah, it does go to show he's the MVP of this team. I have said it for years.
Hmm.
100%. It's so crazy because you literally just sparked another memory in which literally weeks up ahead of last season. I'm just talking about how like he could be the MVP conversation and stuff, and then 2 weeks later, that's all out the window. But yeah, he really is that Nick Chubb is that caliber of player, and yeah, it would be nice to see Kareem Hunt back. Unsure, but then the behind the scenes wise as to why they didn't look to re-sign him, whether it be thinking he lost a bit of quickness within his step or the older age. I'm unsure. All I know is that Hunt missed 2 games last season, came in from game three further on, and still led the team in rushing touchdowns with 9 and rushing first downs with 39. Uh, I did think at some point maybe they would bring in Deontay Foreman.
Yeah, that was kind of a shock. He hasn't really done much in his career, though. That's what I'm saying. You just need to go out and get that veteran. If not Hunt, someone, but it's got to be Hunt, in my opinion. Just pay the man, for crying out loud.
Well, you
Yeah.
know what? It's funny you say it because I thought originally, and I'm not just saying it because of the number or the hairstyle. Ironic, by coincidence, but I really thought when they signed Foreman that he was kind of fitting that mold of Hunt. Like I know Foreman hasn't really lived up to when he was an All American at Texas, but he has found a way to stick in the league. When Derrick Henry went down in Tennessee in 2021, they brought Foreman and he helped carry them to the playoffs. 2022, McCaffrey, as we know, finally left Carolina to San Francisco. Foreman comes out 914 rushing yards on that season, nearly 1,000 at that, and became a starter later on in the year. He's not going to be the RB1 or even RB2, but he still has some kind of ability to add to this rushing core. And furthermore, even if they don't go for Hunt, you need all you can get, right? I mean that's kind of the name I think when it comes to this rushing core. You need everybody to really combine their abilities to combine and produce what Nick Chubb could do individually himself. I feel that was the model last year, and they need to continue that. And they want to find some kind of stability going forward into Jacksonville.
All
I
right, guys, we got to go ahead and take a quick break. Nick, can you hold that thought for me? We're going to take a really quick break and then we're going to be back. We're going to finish up our Browns, but also get into a little bit of OSU talk as they trounced the Western Michigan. Was it Broncos? Was it
Yep,
Broncos, Nick? Okay.
yep.
All right, we'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Her and the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. This is your girl, Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports. I am here with Irie Harris of Cleveland.com. He's the Cleveland beat reporter, and Nick Michaels from VSBN. So he also writes for dottingtheI.net for OSU and lakefront.com for all things Cleveland. So, Nick, you were just about to make a point before we went to break. I'm sorry.
I know we want to get into OSU, so I'm just a really quick thing. I have always felt the one criticism I've always had about Stefanski is his weakness of abandoning the run. Not that it was working too much, but it seems like whenever they are down early, he kind of panics and he leans on his quarterback way too much. So that has been one kryptonite for Coach the last couple of years, and really that showed yesterday as well.
I have to agree with you on that. The prime example with the Miami Week 9 of the 2022 season, they've been in the run. Paz didn't do him much justice afterwards. I have to agree with you on that. I don't want. I wish I didn't have to, but there's been multiple examples to run away from that. So yeah. Real quick before going to OC football, Rachel, I don't know if you had mentioned it early on when we were still getting the technical difficulties straight, but the Browns, per the rap sheet and everything, had recently signed. They picked up Kadarius Toney, wide receiver, was playing the last couple seasons in Kansas City. I don't know if you were or Nick had any immediate impressions off of the signing to pick up after I know it's been a long 24 hours since the game ended, but you guys any thoughts on that?
Didn't
I
he
mean,
drop a whole bunch of balls in one game and they wanted to get rid of him
Yeah,
immediately?
yeah.
yeah. Do you really want Patrick Mahomes leftovers? That's how I look at it.
I'd say yes, but I don't know about this leftover.
Yep.
Uh, I just wanted to add that we can segue into Buckeyes football since that is the better team within the state.
I see that you are wearing your Syracuse sweatshirt, and I heard Kyle McCord did go off the other day. So, but anywho, so
Almost
what
blew
are
the
your
game.
thoughts? Huh?
Nothing.
What'd you say, Nick?
I said he almost blew the game, but
Oh, he did. Um, Will, what's his name? Will Howard.
Oh yeah,
Will
the
Howard, yeah.
quarterback.
What do you
Yeah,
think about him? Because a lot of people are saying
I
he
love
sucks.
him. He is a breath of fresh air. I liked McCord. I always said McCord was a good quarterback, but he wasn't Ohio State good. Will Howard is more of a facilitator. I love his positive attitude. I've gotten to know him, been to the last two games. Just the locker room vibe. The guys seem to rally around him, and that was something McCord struggled with extremely in the big games. Mentally, he just couldn't lock in. And that's the thing Syracuse is going to find out when they play Clemson later this year and Florida State and some of those opponents. Be interesting to see if he's changed at all. But Will Howard, I like him a lot, and he knows. He said before the year, Rachel, to the media when we were at practice, I don't have to be man. I just have to facilitate. Got so many weapons to work with, and honestly, I think so far it's been a home run pickup for Ryan Day and the Buckeyes.
Can he lead this team to a national championship?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think the Buckeyes have put themselves into a wonderful position. I'll just real quick. So many weapons that they brought in. Quinshon Judkins, by the way, had 2 touchdowns. Monster game. I said last week, Ohio State had a chip on their shoulder. People were criticizing them on the national level that they didn't run the football very well, didn't get off to a fast start. Boom. They literally ran it down Western Michigan's throat. Jeremiah Smith is going to break all the records before it's all said and done. He will be better than Marvin Harrison Jr., and even Marvin agreed on that, by the way. That kid is just an absolute freak. On that touchdown reception, Rachel, he was clocked at 21 miles per hour when he outran 3 defenders from Western Michigan. There's a reason why he was the number 1 recruit. And another thing too, defensively, absolutely stacked. You have at least five guys that should have went to the NFL that came back: Sawyer,
Hmm.
Burke, Hancock. I'm having a moment here, but Tyleek Williams. So many guys that came back to win a
Yeah.
national championship. This team is loose. They're locked in. They're ready to go. I love watching this team.
Yeah, I loved watching Michigan go down. Thank you, Texas. But now Texas has leapt over Ohio State after that
I
victory.
love it.
So we're
I
going to
love
be
it.
hanging around a little bit. And I believe Oregon dropped down a little bit because weren't they ranked a little bit higher than 7 or no? Did they drop a
Yeah,
spot or two?
yeah, they were. I actually like Texas jumping us, and here's why. Because this team is already playing with a chip on their shoulder that they weren't tough enough last year. This is perfect billboard material. Ryan Day can use this to his advantage, and I know he already is. And this team is just going to be more focused and more hungry now because of it. And I love it. Motivation is the key this year for the Buckeyes. Oh, and by the way, Chip Kelly has called two fantastic games as the offensive play caller.
Yeah, but it only gets harder. They take on Marshall this weekend, and then the big test they go to. Well, I don't know how big of a test it is, but they go to Michigan State, on the road. So, super excited for what's coming this season, and if this team can hold up and make it to the national championship. Right now, Bama is I think number 4. So, right now, who's the number one? I forgot just that quick. Who's number one?
It's Georgia, but
Oh,
real quick,
Georgia.
I hate to correct you. Ohio State is on an early bye this week. They have
Oh,
Marshall next week at
oh.
noon and at Michigan State.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on Her in the Huddle today. Great conversation. So thank you so much. I hope you guys will be on even more in the future. And you've been listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. We are out of here. Sorry about that, guys. I'm
It's
so
all good.
All
sorry
good.
about that. Sorry about that at the very beginning.
All good.
So,
I didn't mean to
so,
correct you again, but I had to.
oh no, if I was wrong, I'd rather people have the right information than the wrong information. So that's cool. No big deal. I'm glad you did that.
I, I love how you give me 5 minutes for the Buckeyes, and I got to cram it
I'm
all
sorry.
in.
We because I let y'all, because I was having trouble getting y'all in the room, so I let the Browns go a little bit more. So I'm sorry about that.
No, it was a good conversation.
I'll let
Yeah,
you. We'll do more Buckeyes the next time, or maybe speak Browns like the first, or like only 15 minutes. I'll let you take the lead from there the next time.
we
All
got to do
right,
more than Browns, more
you
than
got to
15
wear some
minutes for
Buckeye
Browns,
gear though, man.
You know
huh?
what? I was gonna say, like, I forgot I even had this on. I picked up the first gray sweater. I got like 3 gray sweaters that I wear that are all clean. I just picked up the first one I saw and I opened a half. So I happen to have the orange color on it. So I understand wearing this. I'm technically in ops territory, so I might have to hide this somewhere deep in the wardrobe so I don't find it for a while.
You said ops territory.
Yeah, yeah, because since like, they have their quarterback used to Buckeyes country and everything, so
You
guys
sound
guys they say that I might have to have my arms like this whenever walking and stuff now. I might. Hey, what's up? How you doing? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh,
it's,
shoulder injury. Yeah, yeah.
it's
I do like
Syracuse,
Kyle McCord a
Irene.
lot. So
It's
I
okay.
do like.
Yeah, Calvin McCord is good. Also, no, yeah, no, you're all good though. Appreciate the we're all journalists, so pivoting is what comes with this. So good job on that, and yeah, good convo, and look to reconnecting again soon.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. So what was it like in there, Irie, yesterday in the press box and stuff? Because me and Nick, we didn't get a chance to go.
They didn't
I'm
approve it.
sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry about the. I've been hearing from multiple people, along with y'all, how they like you guys are applying to get the confirmation, but even if you don't get approved, they still don't send like an update, like if you, so now you're left wondering, right, like if you get in or not, you got to call and everything, so like, yo, am I in? So I'm sorry about that. Hopefully they can resolve that. They might have been trying to make room for the new sponsors, the Huntington Bank. That maybe that's what came in the way yesterday. I don't know,
Mm.
but as far as what it as how it was though, I mean, you know. mourningful, shock, silence, everything that you can imagine in one. Everybody's just like, that's all you heard, like, this is terrible, this is bad. I'm just sitting there typing the live blog, like, all right, another turnover on downs to type about. So yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, and
Uh,
there was a lot of pageantry that went into the game at the start of the game too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So happens. They next home game, week 3, they host the Giants. Hopefully, I'll see you two there. Um, yeah, I mean, hopefully, this is gonna be. And actually, I was gonna thinking because after that, they have a 4 games, I meant 3 straight roll games after that. I
Hmm.
think, yeah, week 4, week 5, week 6. But then they got 3 more after that before the bye week. So it's a long road, but that just came to mind when talking about that. But yeah, hopefully they beat Jacksonville and then beat the Giants the next time.
One
And
last question: did you see Mr. Brady?
I did. I was chilling with Branson and him and eating. He did walk by a couple times. He has a funny walk.
Really?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, to me, it was funny. Like to other people, just be like, yeah, he's just walking. But to me, it was kind of a funny walk. Who knows, nervous or whatever. But he's got like that chin dimple, like Buzz
Yeah.
Lightyear.
Hmm.
Yeah, I saw it in person. I'm like, he really got that.
Yep.
Uh, Nick, so yeah, so I was gonna ask Nick. So what else? I was gonna say, do you do like so you do like all levels within football, like Browns games when possible, the Buckeyes games, high school around the area.
Yeah, cover high. Yeah, I'm an on-air radio broadcaster for high school football, basketball, and then I cover. I'll be at the Cavs games this year, the Monsters, um,
Nice,
Browns when I can get in, and then I just got into the Buckeyes this year, so I'll be covering
awesome,
games, and I'm gonna
uh,
go to a couple of the away games as well. So
awesome, salute. Yeah, I gotta go. Sure, I wouldn't be surprised if we're at the same one of these same high school games around the area and stuff. Especially as it gets closer to playoff time. So I'll make sure I keep an eye out for you.
yeah, I we just had a Cleveland team last week. St. Joseph, Villa Angela St. Joseph came down and rocked us 60
Oh,
to nothing.
really?
Oh, Bo Jackson ran all over us, man. That kid is a freak. He's so good.
Mm.
Can't wait until he's a Buckeye next year.
Oh, he playing for Ohio State?
Yeah, he's a 4-star recruit, and he's going to win Mr. Football. So
Hey,
Mm.
how have the couple kids from Glenville that are were Buckeyes at commits looking, or have they not played much since they're freshmen right now?
I watched them. They came to Arlem Field, which is I cover Mansfield Senior. They
Right.
came to Field in July for a 7-7. That one wide receiver, he looks really good. I did not see the other kid, but I did get to see the one kid that was coming. So
All right. I was just curious because I got to cover Glenville later on and stuff probably sometimes, but that came to mind because those are the two commits that I knew of at least. I didn't know the full list, or, the extensive commits and everything, but those are the two I knew off top. So it's like, oh yeah, that could be my go-to in Buckeyes conversations. Oh yeah, those two Glenville kids, how they looking? But awesome though.
yeah, Coach Ginn, I got to talk to him for 20 minutes. He's such a class act.
Hmm. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
amazing.
awesome. Well, I won't keep you guys. Good talking, good show, and you
Thank you.
guys take it easy, and I'll see y'all soon. Yeah, no problem, Rachel. Thanks again.
Okay. All right.
All
See
right,
y'all
see you.
later. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Peace
Bye.
out. Bye.